Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
Good afternoon, Chef Patrick Mosher, Food Biz Pro. It is Thursday, the 11th? The 11th already, wow. Yes, Thursday, the 11th of July. So, hey, I think it's time for Christmas in July, isn't it? Yeah, I think, I think, what do I get for Christmas? Socks, underwear, and T-shirts. I think it's time to go buy myself some socks, underwear, and T-shirts. That's what we get. Oh, and maybe some, what else do I like? Some sort of malt balls, I think. Yeah, not milk duds. Maybe something, malt balls, or maybe a little, if I can find some little robin's eggs on sale, the malt balls, the little painted ones from Easter time. Ought to be a good deal on those right now. It's only a couple months late. Anyway, yes, I've been off for the last couple of days. There's been lots of stuff going on at the Spoony Studios here. Not the least of which, we had some major storms come through last night, and we were down for several hours. And thanks to Ron Phillips, they got us back up and going. But we were down so long, the battery backups actually wore out. So it was a frantic race to get all the channels back up and rolling. But we're back today. We are back today. And, yeah, I don't know why I have multiple pages open here. Let's reload this. Anyway, we got some fun stuff today. Today, if you didn't know, is National 7-Eleven Day. Yep, it's National 7-Eleven Day. And if you have a 7-Eleven membership points card, then there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. I would hesitate to admit that there is a 7-Eleven very close to us here, about maybe 300 yards away, right at the next corner. And Doc and I were frequent visitors there, typically to grab a snack. If you haven't been to 7-Eleven in a while, they have a lot of great snack products, very healthy products. You can buy like boiled eggs there. And fruit cups and things like that. But today they actually have sandwiches. Yes, sandwiches for $1 at 7-Eleven. I should actually look up and see exactly what they have today instead of just making it up because I saw it, that one thing, because I had to fuel up. But they, let's see. Da-da-da. Oh, I think you get a free Slurpee today as well. Now, nothing against 7-Eleven, but growing up in my mid-teen years in Arizona, I was more of a Circle K Frosty guy than a 7-Eleven Slurpee guy. I don't know why. I think it was lighter and more air. It was airier, I think. The Slurpee kind of reminds me of, what do you get at Sonic, right? Just the little freezy things that they have, the frozen drinks, the blue raspberry one that everybody always orders, which there's no such thing as a blue raspberry, by the way. You probably heard me talk about that before. Stop making blue raspberry stuff. All right, so it doesn't say what's free. You get a free Slurpee in your favorite flavor, and you can share on social media and include National 7-Eleven Day. But again, most places have an additional sale going on. I actually bought a ham sandwich for $1. Yep, don't judge. It was all natural smoked ham with natural cheddar cheese. It wasn't bad. Okay, at least I ate today. No grumpy Patrick. All right, it's also National Blueberry Muffin Day. Who comes up with these days, National Blueberry Muffin Day. Okay, like we need a national holiday for this. Let's see. National Blueberry Muffin Day. There's National Cheesecake Day, Popsicle Day, Popover Day. Crazy. Anyway, let's see what the history of this is. Let's see. While enjoying a delicious blueberry muffin, consider the powerhouse of the blueberry is. This once wild berry became domesticated during the 1900s thanks to the observations of Elizabeth Coleman White and the research of Dr. Frederick V. Coville. I've never heard of either. Before their efforts, wild blueberries were never successfully transplanted and raised in any farming operation for personal or commercial production. The only way to enjoy them was to seek them out where they naturally grew. That's interesting. So part of that has to do with the soil. I know they like kind of a loamy, dry soil, more acidic, and it has to drain well, but lots of rain. And they like a cooler climate. And I was really shocked to know that north of Houston, there are a lot of blueberry farms. The biggest thing being that it's not a cold climate, but I didn't realize that the soil was in the right temperature, the temperate zone for that, or the right acidic makeup and the right mineral content. But anyway, blueberries are really hard to grow. That the plant is finicky. If it gets too much water, too much direct sunlight, too much heat, too much cold, the plants die. And how do I know this? Because I've planted many blueberry bushes, and I've never successfully brought one to fruition, so to speak. But I did grow up in upstate New York, where wild blueberries and their cousin, which I don't think it's actually their cousin, but a similar-looking berry called the huckleberry, it's a little darker, it almost looks black, they grow wild rampant up there. And I was really fortunate. We had this really kind of, what was our property like? Our house sat up on a hill, and it had this big sloping field to one side of it. If you looked at the front of the house, to the left was more forest. There was the little apple orchard, and to the right was this big sloping hayfield, which I don't think had been used for hay in years and years. And it sloped downward, and then and it went back maybe 200 or 300 yards, and down the middle of that, from front to back, from the roadside. So if you're looking towards the house, there was this ridge, this little kind of a hump of a hill that ran through that property. And then it sloped back down again, and it came to this kind of a tree line. And just on the other side of that tree line was a big, cleared, wide path where power lines ran through. And just close to our house, just on the side of our house, but between those power lines and that ridge of trees, that tree line, were raspberry bushes, blueberry bushes, huckleberry bushes, all wild. And I spent, I don't know how many, hours and hours every fall picking and, I was supposed to bring them back for pies, but mostly just picking and eating them. That was pretty much it. Those, and then in the springtime, we had the tiny little wild strawberries that are about the size of your fingernail on your pinky finger. They're tiny, but really good, especially if they're ripe. And my mother would always say, if I brought enough back for a pie, that she would make one. And 10 summers in a row, I went out to pick strawberries day after day, and 10 summers in a row, I never had a strawberry pie because I could never gather enough without eating them all to ever make a single pie. They're tiny, and they tasted too good. So anyway, blueberries are packed with, all sorts of good stuff. They're vitamin C, vitamin B6. This is, though, one of the only fruits that's acidifying to the body, meaning that the pH is low. So if you do have any problems with that, it actually, if you have any digestive issues, like acid reflux, this is not something you should eat like cupfuls of. Put them on your oatmeal, put a couple here, put a couple there, but it can agitate that. Anyway, it's National Blueberry Muffin Day. I'd put up some really special recipe, but any blueberry muffin is special. And nowadays you can buy just the blueberry muffin tops, like just the good part of the muffin. Matter of fact, I'm going to look for a recipe. I'll put that up on the break. Today is also Rainier Cherry Day. Let's see. The Rainier Cherry Day is on July 11th. Recognizes the cherry variety named after Mount Rainier. In 1952, Harry Fogel of Washington State University developed the Rainier cherry by breeding the Bing and Van cherry varieties. So the Bing is the kind of yellow red one, and the Van cherries are the deep red ones that everyone knows, that are really familiar. And Rainier is kind of hard to find. I've never seen them in a grocery store other than in California. And that was at, what is it called? It's a marketplace in, it's not in San Francisco. It's across the bay. It's a huge marketplace, really close to UC, not UC Davis. Yeah, UC Davis. And it's, this store has more produce than I've ever seen. Ever. Nothing like it before. It probably had 2,000 or 3,000 SKUs, 2,000 or 3,000 different varietals of produce. It's crazy. 2/3 of the store was produce. But that was the first time I ever saw fresh, ripe Rainier cherries. So if you can find them, good for you. Probably not likely. They're really sweet. They have a super thin skin, and they have kind of a creamy yellow texture to them. Creamy yellow flesh. They're very temperamental, which is why you don't see them very often. They are sensitive to wind, rain, temperature. So unfortunately, it's really hard to grow them at your house unless you live somewhere near, say, probably from San Francisco north in the Northwest. They also need a significant cold spell when the tree is in hibernation. Otherwise, they just don't produce very well. Anyway, they actually have this tree-to-table program, and the Northwest cherry growers handpick one restaurant in each state to feature at least one Rainier cherry dish on July 11th in their restaurants. And for more information, let's look and see who in the Dallas-Fort Worth area has something going on. In Texas, Driscoll Grill. Oh, it's in Austin. It's in Austin on Brazos Street. So if you happen to be in Austin today, check out the Driscoll Grill. They will have something featuring the Rainier cherry. And since I'm from New York, I got to look it up. And let's see, Millisime at the Carlton Hotel on Madison Avenue. A, I'm not in New York. B, that's probably a little bit out of my price range. But the chef Elan Ashkenazi there, I believe he was up for a James Beard Award, not this year, but last year. So if you're in that area, check it out. And let's go to Washington State, where that comes from. Come on, Washington. Serious Pie. That is in Seattle on Virginia Street. So if you are in the area, check it out and let me know. Look, I don't know where y'all are from, but if you actually, here you go. If you type in right now, go to the Spoony Facebook page, watch live, and make a comment. Ask what is a restaurant in your state. I will tell you. How's that? Let's see. Travis, yes. What happened to Tuesdays and Wednesday? I'm sorry, Travis. I'm a slacker. That's all I can tell you. Let's see. Toby says, happy 7-Eleven. Patrick, happy 7-Eleven to you, Toby. You know what's a really happy day is happy 420. Not that I partake, but everybody's happy. Stephen Ellis, hey, all. Let's see. Meridiano, hello. Marie, we have Sean. Summy, have a seat for a sec. All right. So anybody who's been listening to the show lately, like for the last 3 years while I was with Doc, here, go ahead and pull the mic up there. Yep. And all right. You can hear me. I can hear you, I think. There you go. Okay. Nope. You're muted. That's why. Hey, Ron. Ronaldino. I may have to run out there and unmute the mic. Actually, can you run to the board for me? Okay. I'll tell you what to do when you get in there. All right. All right, we're going to have Summy, my most loyal fan, is going to run out there and unmute his own mic. All right, because he's a better technician than I am. That's why. All right, so when he gets in there now, I'm going to see how good of a description I can give on what he's supposed to do. Okay, so if you look at the top row, there's a row of buttons. Then down below that, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right now, mic 1 is unmuted, right? It's a black. Press mic 2. And the light went off. And hello. I think I can hear you now. Let's see. Hello. Yes. Hello. I think so. We'll see in a minute. All right. So Summy's coming back in. But yeah, Summy's been following me since I started with Doc and his show at the other network. Wow. That was over 3 years ago. I did one little morning show. Skip had recently left the show. And here, let's see if we can hear you now.
There we go.
There you go. Hey, thanks, Summy. So, Summy Schick, hey, where does that name come from, Summy?
It's out of my faith. It's a derivative from Korea. It means heavenly light.
Okay, yeah, you'd explain that to me one time. Mm-hmm. And you've been a listener since, I think I started with Doc almost 4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And so I was on his show over at the Blaze one day. Doc was like, hey, we should talk about food on the air. We'd been talking for about 3 weeks. We became friends. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, when? He goes, well, just show up at 6:30 at my house. And he was doing the show from the house in Northwest Arkansas. So I sat, and in his den, he had 2 microphones like this, one set of headphones. He actually used his earbuds from his iPhone, and he gave me one, and we sat about this far away. We had literally my face and his face were about 8 inches away because he had the old one with the short cord, and you couldn't, it didn't go very far. So we did a show. We did 30 minutes on food, and we talked about the future of food. And I think shortly thereafter, if not that day, it was about a month later, I actually was down in the studio with him because he went to back to Dallas to work, directly at the Blaze because it was too hard to do the show remotely. And and you started commenting right away. As a matter of fact, as soon as I went on Twitter, you were one of the first people to comment on anything I ever said.
I don't even remember what it was about.
I think it was right after Thanksgiving. Do you remember the first when I was on Glenn's show with him? In November, it was 2016, and Glenn was taking the day off. So Doc was hosting a live, 3-hour or 2-hour TV show.
Oh, right. Wasn't that that was Veterans Day?
Well, the first time I was on there was for it was Thanksgiving. So I did the Nailed It, Failed It one for Thanksgiving, right? With Thanksgiving leftovers. So the one that we did first and foremost was I did that lobster stuffed tenderloin, where we made Chris Cruz eat everything, and he loved that one. And then we went into the cake-like structure that is often made from Thanksgiving leftovers. So it's like a turkey on the bottom. It's a round, you put a pile of turkey on the bottom, and you put dressing, and then you put mashed potatoes, and you put cranberry sauce, and do the same thing twice. And then you coat the whole thing in mashed potatoes. And when you're done with it's with leftovers, and people are just trying to get creative. When it's done, you frost it just like a cake with the mashed potatoes. And so it looks like a carrot cake. But when you cut into it, obviously it's Thanksgiving leftovers. Chris Cruz was not fond of that.
Sounds kind of like the turducken or something.
Yeah, and turducken's a bit much sometimes. Yeah. Although that's not. Have you ever had turducken?
No.
Really?
No.
So I actually had. There was a gentleman, Kevin McCann. He owns McCann's Fine Meats up in where is he? He's way up in it's where Kodak is based in Rochester, New York. Okay, so he's up there. Does all local meats within 50 miles of their store. Everything is there. He's actually, I think, the team captain for the national butchering team.
Butchering team?
Yeah, so I'll look it up in a second. But they had a big competition, the International Butchery. It's a big deal. Those guys are. Do you know how fast they can break down an entire head of cattle?
Yeah, meat must fly there.
That's funny. What's cool is his butcher shop is set up so that when you walk in the front door. To the left are there's a couple little tables and there's a counter that you can sit at. And then if you look between those to the left, there's a window that shows where he dries his charcuterie, his cured meats like prosciutto and salami and things like that.
Oh, you can watch them work.
Yeah, well, next to that, right, just if you look over the counter, they have all these big stainless steel tables, and that's where they do their actual butchery. So right there, they bring in a whole half side of cattle, half side of beef, or a full side of beef, and they break it down right there. It's awesome.
Wow. I know a place in the Walt Disney World Resort that does much the same thing.
Really? Which one is that one? Do you know?
It's called Yachtsman.
Yachtsman.
It's in the Yacht Club. It's a steakhouse.
Oh, it's in the Yacht Club. Oh. Anytime I hear Yacht Club, I think of the movie Caddyshack. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, it's one of the higher end things, but yeah, good stuff.
Very cool. Yeah. So anyway, he does a great job there. They break down the cattle there and all the pork and everything else they do. But then you go just past that. There's the registers, and they have this charcuterie counter. So they have a display counter where they have everything from smoked beef tongue whole to yes, I know, it's beef tongue, dude. It's not a big deal. It's like any other muscle in the body. It's edible. Do you ever had beef tongue?
Nope.
Would you eat it?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, you're going to eat some pork belly in a day or so.
Yeah, I mean, much the same texture, I guess.
So beef tongue is actually the muscle gets used a ton, right? I think it's the most used muscle in a cow's body. Seriously, I mean, heart is typically
muscle in any living creature's body.
Well, I mean, usually it's the heart, right? But for cattle are always chewing their cud. That tongue is always moving, and so it's actually very marbled with fat. Surprisingly, it's lean, but it has this kind of these little layers, tiny layers of fat in it, and when sliced thin, it's sliced very thin, like thinner than deli ham, It's very, very, very. It's very tender, very soft. It's a big thing in delicatessens and a lot of other cultures, and it's awesome. Anyway, they just have a great place there. And if you happen to be in the Rochester area, Kevin McCann, man, I miss you, buddy. He did this thing though. This is where I got the idea. He did. You said turducken, right?
Yeah.
He did one that I believe he smoked a. It was like. I think it might have been like the whole turducken thing, but that was put inside of a like a pig that was put inside of veal that was put inside of cattle, and then they smoked the whole thing. Something, but it was like, oh man, it's like they cut one slice off and the thing was like this big on the plate. It was a fundraiser for.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it was. It was actually a Christmas fundraiser for less fortunate children.
Wow.
And it was a big deal. And that was the first time I met him. And that was the first bite of food I had, and it was awesome. I mean, everything was cooked perfectly all the way through. And look, turducken's kind of a fail because it's hard to cook all that. And the turkey is one of the drier things. The duck, it's more moist. It's like the ultimate quandary, like trying to cook an egg, right? Only exactly.
There's several more dynamics to that.
Well, it's as if you've had a chicken egg, a duck egg, and a ostrich egg, and you're trying to make them cook all at the same time at the same temperature and come out exactly perfect. It's tough. It's like beating my head against the microphone like I do. But anyway, I just want to say thank you. Look, you brought me in. What coffee did you brew today from wait, whose coffee? Whose coffee is it?
I'm sorry?
Did you brew was it from something from DM?
I'm sorry?
From the bags on the counter, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, who's our favorite coffee coffee roaster?
Oh, American Pride Roasters.
That's
definitely.
right. That's right. So and this is the white chocolate one? No.
No,
just the Whitefield.
White chocolate. There is no white chocolate. That's Whitefield.
Okay, so here's the problem. DM, better known as American Pride Roasters Grandmaster of Ceremonies.
Isn't that DMX DM now?
I think it is, yeah. So we need something with white chocolate.
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, I think we just got the ball rolling.
Thanks for not brewing Doc's Anus, by the way. Just saying. It was.
Well, I kind of like the spice to it.
Well, so it's got anise in there.
Yes, that too.
Anise. Okay.
Yeah.
And was it peppermint, anise, and some other things, right? Wasn't that it? But
some kind of chili pepper or something.
It's really good. It's really good. But I just don't want to have to say it on the air because it makes me laugh every time. But anyway, you've been a loyal listener. You always comment. You take the time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
We all do.
And I need to get my own cup now.
Okay, thanks. Hey, thanks for stopping in, somebody. Thank you very much. And for delivering a cup of coffee, because otherwise I'll take a nap during the show. We don't want that. Anyway, Summy Schick.
The alternative was waiting until now.
Yes, exactly. Well, hey, so you've done a lot of things. You brought the wattle pork for me.
Yeah.
Okay, pork belly, and that breed of pig is very, very exclusive. You brought me he's got whole milk in there. It's not just whole milk. It's raw milk, an entire gallon. You have brought... What else?
And
duck
that's what
eggs.
I put in that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, if you've never had raw whole milk before, you're missing out.
Come to Plano. They have a farm that sells it for $10 a gallon.
And some farmers markets, if you talk to somebody who's a dairy farmer, they will make arrangements to have it delivered because it's a lot less expensive for them to do just the whole raw milk, and it's just better for you.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tastes so much better, even than whole milk, and I've been on that since I was weaned.
Which was what, when you're 8? I'm just joking, Summy. I'm just joking.
Oh, younger than that.
I hope so. All right, hey, Summy, thank you very much. All right.
Yep.
All right, well, hang out. Just, would you mute mic 2 for me?
Yes.
Thanks, sir. All right, Summy Schick visiting in studio. He comes by a couple days a week. He brings us all sorts of intriguing samples of treats from around the world. As a matter of fact, he competes in a big national pie competition in Florida, in Tampa, every year. And he will, he'll be bringing... probably, I'm putting him on the spot here, a sample of his new pie that he's working on right now. It's going to be a white chocolate pie. I think he's going to go back to no-bake pies, which is where he started originally. But we'll see. We'll find out what happens, and he'll let me know here in another week or so. But yeah, he's brought so many pies by. He's come to visit me at the other studio. He's been here at least 20 or 30 times. It's nice to have a loyal fan who really wants nothing from you but to... not just enjoy your passion for food, but also share theirs with you. Anyway, we had about 30 seconds to wrap this first course up. We have now devoured, or at least wasted, the soup and salad portion of the day. But I think I finally have gotten Jeff Wetzel, the Cowboy Chef, committed to calling in. And we're going to spend some time talking about food business and some interesting shakeups in the world of delivery and operations. Anyway, Chef Patrick Mosher, the Food Biz Pro. Stay tuned. We'll be back at 32 past the bottom of the hour. So that'd be what? 1:32, 2:32 Eastern. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Follow Chef Patrick Mosher on Twitter at Food Biz Pro.
Got an old car? You can donate it, whether it's running or not, to the United Breast Cancer Foundation and save a life. They'll even come and pick it up for free. The United Breast Cancer Foundation has saved hundreds of women's lives through their free or low-cost breast screen exams. But now they need your help. The United Breast Cancer Foundation wants to save more lives through early detection by offering women free or low-cost breast screening exams. And donating your old car, SUV, or truck, whether it's running or not, helps pay for them. Plus, you get a charitable tax deduction. Help the United Breast Cancer Foundation save lives by donating your old car, SUV, or truck. Call now for free pickup. 800-245-0823. 800-245-0823. 800-245-0823. Call right now. That number again is 800-245-0823.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-452-1075. 800-452-1075. That's 800-452-1075.
Never Forgotten Apparel is more than just a premium women's and men's clothing line. It's a movement to remind us to wear American-made and serve those who serve us. Our heroes. Never Forgotten Apparel gives 20% of their total sales to nonprofits that support homeless veterans and off-duty firefighters, and 50% to individual veterans and firefighters in need nationwide. Check out neverforgottenapparel.com. Use promo code MATT, M-A-T-T, and get 15% off your purchase.
And we're back. We are live right here in the Spoony Studios in Haltom City, Texas, and we have caller Jeff Wetzel on the line. Jeff, what's up, buddy?
How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. If you guys haven't heard Chef Jeff Wetzel on the phone before, he is also known as Chef Jeff, the Cowboy Chef, or as our friend Mike and I used to say, Chefry. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, hey, look at that. They got your picture up there and your name and everything, dude. Look at that. Thanks, Ron. I forgot we even did that. Oh, I lost him. That's what happens when you live in Northwest Arkansas. You lose the connection, so I'm sure he'll call back in here in a second. But Chef Jeff is, he's one of my best friends, and he's a great chef. He's got a huge variety of experience, and he has an awesome catering company, just all-around food service company, called Le Bouvier Chef Services, based out of Bentonville, Arkansas. There he is. And since he wasn't listening, I'll give him props again. But he's just a all-around stellar guy, solid chef, and one of the most fun people to talk to on the phone because he's always got an interesting perspective. So welcome back, Jeff. Glad you made it back.
Yeah, if you didn't want to talk to me, you could have just told me, Patrick. You didn't have to hang up on me.
I did. Hey, dude, come on, man. You got AT&T?
Yes.
Okay, let's just blame AT&T because mine drops all the time, too. No. I'm just saying.
It's also a great advantage to living out here in the woods.
Yes. Well, you got a good view. Have you seen, by the way, so Jeff, what's the lake you live on up there?
Lake Windsor.
So Jeff lives on Lake Windsor up in Bella Vista, Arkansas. And you sent me a picture of a fish from your house down to the dock is what? Probably, that's a good, 200 feet? You know.
Oh no, it's good. Yeah, it's good 100 yards, maybe a skosh more.
Okay, so you sent me a picture taken on a phone that was slightly zoomed in on what appears to be the biggest freaking goldfish I've ever seen, dude. And that's not, and it's not a koi. It is not a carp. It looks like the bubble-headed goldfish. You know,
it's somebody's bait that got loose and has survived.
I'm telling you, that thing is huge, and the shape of it is not a koi. That's the first thing I thought. It's got to be a koi. They can get very big, but it's not. It's I don't know. It's scary. I want to find out what it is. I wonder if it's edible.
Well, I'm determined to catch it, so you'll see it soon enough. But I've seen it twice now. That picture was the second time. The first time, my wife thought I was telling a fish story. And I was actually down on the dock when it came in, and I'm telling you, this fish is every bit of 35 pounds.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt. I mean, it's how long do you think it is?
Oh, it's a good 36, 40 inches.
Yeah, I thought it was at least 3 feet when I saw the picture you sent. It's a big fish. I'm just more interested I really don't want to eat it. I'd love to find out what species it is and how it got that big because, you know, I've seen some big carp almost up to 3 feet, but that's a big, and it's fat, it's wide. All right.
Oh, and I've caught carp here off the dock 3 feet.
Well, yeah, but not
not
orange carp.
On my Facebook, there's a picture of my daughter laying on the dock next to the one she caught, and it was as long as she was.
You know, well, which one? Little Minnie or her bigger sister?
Well, Peyton, but I mean, she's still.
Yeah, she got me 4 feet tall.
That fish was almost 4 feet long.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. And carp, they are. They don't. I don't think they. I think if they live long enough, they just don't stop growing. I'm sure they slow down, but they continuously eat forever. I mean, they just don't stop 24/7. But that fish, yeah,
and they're a heck of a fight on a fishing pole. I mean, you know, my girls thought they caught Moby Dick when they caught that one.
So what do you think you do? Because I know you do a lot of catfishing, right? So I know you set up your little, your little bait, you sink it, and come back next day. What do you do to lure this guy? You go buy fish flakes, maybe, and set the same type of bait out.
No. Actually, you use corn.
Oh, for him or for the no? I mean, not for catfishing, but for the other, that big whatever it is.
Yeah. For a carp or goldfish like that, you use corn, and then I actually make what's called a boilie, which is shredded wheat, cream corn, strawberry Kool-Aid, 2 eggs, and just enough flour or cornmeal to pull it together. And what's interesting about those is depending on how you cook it, depends on what it does. If you boil it, if you boil the little balls, they sink.
Mm-hmm.
If you microwave the little balls, they float.
Huh. I wonder why that is. What's the difference?
I don't know what the only thing that I can equate it to is by boiling, water's going in.
That's what I was thinking. It changes the density.
Which then makes it denser.
Yeah.
Compared to microwaving is taking liquid out.
Yeah, you're evaporating. So let's go through so you got corn. Let me go through exactly what's in there again.
It's shredded wheat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the cereal.
Yeah. The big
wheat.
Buy the big shredded wheats and ground it. Yeah, crunch them up.
It's a can of cream corn.
Mm-hmm.
2 eggs.
Okay.
Strawberry Kool-Aid. And then just enough flour or cornmeal, you can use either, to, make it a dough that you can roll into a ball.
Okay, so the strawberry Kool-Aid is the packet, right? Dry Kool-Aid?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So what's happening? Yeah, you're right. When you microwave it, you're just evaporating water to basically congeal what's there with what was liquid in the cream corn. And the other way, the flour and the 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 shredded wheats, they're absorbing water. So yeah, that's the only reason. Interesting. But do they float when they're done cooking? No, they must not. They must sink and just go to the bottom when you're boiling them. Right? Because usually dumplings kind of float when they're done.
No, that's the other thing is when they float, they're done cooking.
Okay, did we have to do it?
But then when you go put them back out in the water, they sink.
We have to do something. These anomalies of cooking, right? And I know it's all chemistry and science. I'm not sure I'm smart enough to figure that out on my own, but we need to talk about that. Why does it float when it's done cooking, but once you cool it down, you put it back in water that's not hot, it sinks?
And I think, to be honest with you, I think the only reason that it floats is
the action.
I don't know that it's necessarily floating.
Is it just because the action
boiling
in the
water?
Yeah.
The bubbles are just pushing it up.
That makes sense. Yeah, the action in the water is basically making it rise to the top. So
maybe I don't know, but hey, this is why I don't do baking.
It's funny. You and I both say that. For those of you who have not worked in this industry and are not, really well versed in the in the methods of baking and pastries, baking is an exact science. Man, I mean, how many times have you like that? And I told you before, I do very few desserts that are baked, but because I can recook you a well done filet in 7 minutes with a little help, right? But I can't make you a new cake in 45 minutes should something happen to the cake that was to be delivered to you and it got dropped on the ground. And it is a very precise science. I love the artistry that
you
goes on.
You don't want me to bake your cake in the first place. Like, if you hired me to bake your cake, that's your fault.
That's something I'm going to say. Hey, man, you hired me. That's your fault. That was your choice. If you hired me to bake your cake,
I'm not the guy for that job, and I will tell people I'm not the guy for that job. If you need somebody to bake you a cake, by all means, I'll line you up with one of my friends. That's what they do. That brings up an interesting point. And I talk a lot about the business of the restaurant industry, the business of business. And again, if you're just joining us, this is Chef Jeff Wetzel. He's based out of Bella Vista, Arkansas, the Bentonville area, Northwest Arkansas, beautiful area. And he owns a company called Le Bouvier Chef Services, and any culinary services you really need, private chef, catering, you need a smokehouse temporarily delivered to your door to do a big barbecue event, he's the man to call. And there's not really a limitation. We also do restaurant consulting and menu development and
all sorts of stuff.
All of that. Staff training.
Staff training? I'm joking, dude.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Yeah, we can. I can help you with your menu, and then I can train your staff how to execute that menu. Actually,
one of the best spreadsheets I've ever used is the one that you had for your inventory and costing.
Yeah.
That's a really great spreadsheet. So Jeff and I have collaborated on a number of ventures, so to speak, and just individual events. And he's been a great springboard for me and sounding board also, and just a great reference for some of the stuff I didn't know. But that you just talked about.
Speaking of that spreadsheet, I'm pretty proud of that spreadsheet because I think it covers everything that you need.
Mm-hmm. It does.
And it's taken me years to get it refined and developed to where it is. But I will tell you that one of my mentors is a chef who really taught me the numbers of this game. Is unfortunately closing his restaurant down in Houston.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
After 5 years, he's shutting the doors this month, and it looks like me and some of the other chefs that have come out from underneath him are going to go back down there for one last hoorah as a farewell chef dinner.
Awesome.
And just show how much we appreciate what he taught us and what he did for us as chefs coming up in the game.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's a nice thing to do. A lot of people don't keep in touch with those they've worked with over the years, especially mentors. But so is he still open now?
He is.
Okay. Well, what's the name of the restaurant so we can get people in there?
It's Black's Market Table.
Mm-hmm. And he's on.
They're off of Lowetta. in the Vintage area. They're actually on the other side of 249 from Vintage, down there in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just a phenomenal guy, a phenomenal chef. It breaks my heart to see this happen to him.
So I have a question. I know the area really well. So is he on? Is he right there on where the that Guitar Center and the Target big shopping center is, or is he further down Cypresswood?
No, he's on
Luetta. Is he further down Luetta? I mean,
yes, he's more towards
Grant.
Well, he's halfway between Grant and 249 on Luetta.
Okay, yeah. So he's on the right hand side, right? It's a restaurant that used to be. It was another restaurant before that. They had
mm-hmm. Yeah, he's not an end cap. He's the center building.
Yep. And there's there's was another
end caps on both sides.
Correct. Anyway, so that used to be another restaurant.
Either way, he's running, and this could sound familiar to you. He's running Sweet Tea Fried Chicken as one of his closing night ordeals.
All right, so anybody who's not familiar with what Jeff's talking about, I've worked with Jeff for a long time, and one of the things he does is sweet tea fried chicken. And no, that's not chicken fried in sweet tea, but it's marinated in sweet tea and then breaded and fried. And I'll tell you what, man, that is a unique and extremely pleasant flavor, especially with everybody's doing ultra spicy Indonesian or Southeast Asian style fried chicken. This is a very, very refreshing, great, served hot or cold item for summertime and even in wintertime, but mostly in summertime, man. Did he get that from you or did you get that from him?
Well, it was a collaboration of the two. He had the idea of sweet tea chicken. I perfected sweet tea chicken.
He's the idea man. You got it done, right?
Yes.
So.
And I tell you, it's a dish that has stuck with me forever. And, there's a lot of dishes that he's been so influential on my development on them. I can't say enough good things about Chef Bart Black. He was just awesome. And I'm sorry, I can't really call him Chef Bart Black because I never called him that. His name is Jefe Negro.
Well, that works, right?
He was Boss Black, man. I can remember at the country club going and having coffee with him in the morning in his office, and then going to my trailer over at the back end of the country club to start banging out whatever needed to be done because I was his banquet chef.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I could, he'd roll up on his golf cart and come in and, hey, Jeff, how's everything looking? Everything's great, Jefe. We're looking stellar. Or, hey, I need a little help down here. I need to, send a dishwasher down or something. And boy, he'd send somebody from another kitchen on the property over to me. And, he just, and I also would like to point out, not only did he teach me a lot in the culinary world, but he himself also has 3 daughters. And at that time, I was trying to figure out how to balance being a chef and being a dad. And he taught me a lot about things that didn't involve the kitchen.
That's
why I consider him a really true mentor.
And that's something important. I was talking on the show on Monday with my sister Karen. We talked about the importance of having a mentor, right? Not just in business but in life. And some people are just those momentary flashes in the pan where you glean some amazing words of wisdom through some lighthearted cursory passing where you just happen to, like 2 ships passing kind of a thing. But then you have those people that stick you with, not just stick with you forever, but that you have a long-term relationship with who deeply and, deeply, greatly impact your life in some way that sticks forever. And I'm glad you found a couple. It took me a long time. Mine were very far and few between over the years. But I've never heard you say anything negative about Chef Black ever. And but you guys worked together when you started working at the country club. You weren't far from where my house was. You're right down the road.
No, we were out there in Hockley, which, to be honest, everyone said that a country club would never make it over there because it was too country.
They're doing good. They got a good tennis program and everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've got horseback riding. They've got target shooting, bow and arrow ranges. They have fully electrified plumbing, everything, tree houses for kids to go have slumber parties in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll tell you what, if I could do one thing in my life over again, it would be go back to Houston Oaks and just grind it out there, because that was a really, really, really great place.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we can talk about how management can destroy a place.
Well, let's just talk about, you left there for the right reason, right? You left there to start your own business, and that's how we met.
Yeah.
You were still doing some stuff out there on occasion, but that's how we met. You know, you went off to start the Little Yellow House in Magnolia, Texas, and you were doing it was the band banquet, I think, for the year. My son was in band. He was in high school, freshman.
Well, but you know what? You know what goes even above that, and I don't even know if you know this, Patrick.
What's that?
But do you know that my chef, Bart, he was looking at the Yellow House as a place for him to go.
You had mentioned that.
And he said, Jeff, I just think this place fits you better than it does me. I think you need to go look at it. So he's the one who kind of pushed me off the edge on that one.
Yeah, it was, I'll tell you what, how do I say this? I know things did not work out perfectly there, and a lot of that had to do with you had an accident in your truck, and that was a pretty bad injury you had to your back and knee. But I know it didn't work out perfectly, but I'm telling you, it was absolutely a huge learning experience for you. And just in meeting you from that first day there, or first day at the banquet, and then just after, when you closed the Yellow House and you went back to, doing the catering, and then eventually moved up to Arkansas with me, or to help me. It's amazing the transition that's taken place, prior to, when you first opened Yellow House to coming to Bentonville, Arkansas, and then till now. It's amazing. It's been 7 years since all that started? About that, 7-8 years. But the growth is phenomenal. So proud of you, man, for both of us, not just you, but it's been awesome.
Again, hindsight being 20/20 sometimes. I'm a hard learner, and I think a lot of us in this industry are. We're very stubborn. We're very set in our ways to some degree. And, I really should have thought about my Magnolia experience more when I came to Northwest Arkansas. Because some of the struggles I've had in Northwest Arkansas are some of the same struggles I had in Magnolia, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my own dumb fault for not learning a lesson. But I've adapted. I've overcome. Things are good. But they could have been easier had I not been a dummy. So that's all you chefs out there and up-and-comers and whatnot out there, that's my advice to you. Don't be a dummy. Listen. Step back, look, evaluate, don't react.
Yeah, so, one of the things I think that, and this is a personality thing, right? This is one of the things is learning not to act out of fear of something, so a place of lack, a place of need, right? And when I say need, we all need certain things. We have to act on that. What I'm talking about is acting out of the fear that you're not going to make it. So we all tend to make bad decisions that way, right? We rush into situations that seem good, but we haven't thought through the financials. We rush into taking jobs which pay great, but we don't really think about the expense of doing the job, right? So the effort was nowhere near worth the reward. And not only that, we see the pie in the sky when it's really a very similar opportunity to what we've taken in the past that didn't work out 3 or 4 or 5 times, and we're going back to repeating the same cycle again. So slowing down and really evaluating things has been the biggest factor in my growth, and I see you doing that well. You know,
something that I try to do on a daily basis is doing the same thing and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity.
Yes, it is, according to Albert Einstein.
So,
you know,
I mean,
well,
now, like I said, I'm by no means over that because I do it on a daily basis on a lot of things. But I try to think about it.
Well, you know, and so one thing that you and I have both learned, and this is a big lesson for all restaurateurs, chefs, and people in the culinary industry in general. This kind of, not necessarily the service side, but on the food side of things. Whether you're an owner, an operator, a trainer, a grinded out kind of person that's just working in the field, take this message to heart. You brought up, Jeff, that you are not the one that somebody wants baking their birthday cake because A, it's not your area of expertise and it's not your passion. So I give you all this. Everybody out there, especially chef owners, do not try to be everyone to everyone. You can't serve everybody everything they want. Develop your core.
And that's why as a caterer, if you really want to get into baked goods, I'm a full-service caterer. I will provide that for you.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm bringing somebody else in to do that because I don't want to give you crappy cupcakes. You know, I want somebody who can put out beautiful cupcakes. And I'm not the guy for that job. And I know that. And so I let customers know up front. All baked goods are going to be outsourced. And so, yes, there's going to be a slightly bigger premium on them, but I have a deal worked out with so-and-so. So it'll still be better than you just going to the store. But, you know, I'm not going to be making those.
Well, and there's a reason for the markup. You have to go and get it. You have to talk to them. You have to pay for it, right? You're paying for it out of pocket. And so you're providing a service. So what they're paying for is expedition of they're paying for time not spent trying to go and talk to another vendor to get a product that they need for a party or an event, an occasion, or just for an average everyday meal. And so that's really
and like a perfect example of that is I've got a brunch on Saturday, and this lady is putting on a wedding for her child. She's going to be pretty busy, right? But she wants to do a brunch on Saturday, the day after the wedding. And I called her today and I said, hey, do you want me to go ahead and take care of the champagne? Do you want me to take care of the orange juice for the mimosas? You know, yada, yada, yada. I'll get the champagne flutes, everything. And she's like, oh, my gosh, Jeff, you can do that? Yes, I can.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about it.
But that's something that I can do, just like getting the baked goods done.
Mm-hmm.
I can get you the baked goods that you want, and you don't have to mess with it.
No, exactly. I mean, it's logistics, it's time, and it's convenience, right? But again,
the downfall to that side of things, there's a downfall to it.
Okay.
And that is that I then am putting my name on said goods.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's an issue, it comes out of my behind, not another vendor's.
Mm-hmm.
So, you take the good with the bad, which hopefully if you're dealing with good vendors that you don't have a whole lot of bad.
Well, and that's on us to vet those vendors, right? Do our due diligence.
Yeah, work with people you know.
Mm-hmm.
That their product is what you're looking for.
Exactly. We got about 2 minutes. We're going to go to break. You're going to stay over, aren't you, Jeff? We got some business, actual business of the restaurant business to talk about a little bit. And so you mentioned an interesting article that I had not seen, and a couple of other things. But yeah, real back to the point I was making. You talked about, only doing what you know best and what you love to do. Think about that. When you're designing your food service operation, your catering company, when you think about what direction you want to go as a chef, a cook, an owner in this industry, think about what you really love to do and who you really want to serve. And is there a need for your product in that location, in that general area? All right. And then,
Yep.
I'm telling you, man, I go to so many restaurants and there's this 5-page menu. It's like the damn diners in New York, up and down the Jersey, up along
if I see a menu that's, to be honest, more than 2 pages, I just know everything's frozen.
Yeah, or at least not made fresh, right? Not made there fresh. But yeah, so that's something to really think about, and just focus on your passion. And what you're best at, and then serve those clients. But grow, stretch yourself, grow your, expand your boundaries, grow your experience, and learn some new things. That's always good. But when we come back, I want to talk about. We talked about delivery, home deliveries, a few other things related to that, and how restaurants are moving away from that model, hiring other third-party services, and then just some more business of business, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the industry. It's getting more and more competitive, and we're going to give some tips, tricks on how to keep your restaurant alive, and maybe even some niches people haven't thought about if they want to start a food service business. So come right back. Jeff, you're going to hang over, right? We got 10 seconds?
Yep.
Okay, man. Hey, I'll see you in about 4 minutes. Put you on mute for a second. Again, Chef Jeff Wetzel, the Cowboy Chef. Oh, he hung up. He'll call back, I suppose. Anyway, we're going to talk a little food and fun. Come right back.
This is the only 24-hour take-anywhere platform dedicated to food and fun. We're Spoony.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. The House Judiciary Committee has voted along party lines, authorizing a dozen new subpoenas targeting current and former Trump administration officials and associates.
Expanding the committee's probe to include the Trump administration's zero-tolerance immigration policy. Washington State Democrat Pramila Jayapal.
Don't tell me that we have done what we can. We have not done what we need to do, and that is why we need these subpoenas, because this administration is lawless, and it trades in cruelty and in money.
Arizona Republican Debbie Lesko.
I am absolutely disgusted by the obsession that is going on here of trying to undermine the President of the United States.
The president lashed out at Democrats ahead of the vote, tweeting, "Enough already. Get back to work."
Capitol Hill correspondent Wally Hines reporting. Tropical storm Barry has formed off the coast of Louisiana. It's threatening to blow ashore as a hurricane with relatively weak winds but torrential rains that could test the flood control improvements made in New Orleans since Hurricane Katrina 14 years ago. The first hurricane of the Atlantic season could hit the state's swampy southern tip Friday night or early Saturday, with potentially ruinous downpours that could go on for hours as that storm pushes inland. Plaquemines Parish at Louisiana's southeastern tip has ordered the mandatory evacuation of as many as 10,000 people. Also at townhall.com, the White House is zeroing in on politics of social media.
At the White House today, the focus will be on bias against conservatives in social media. Salem Radio Network talk show host Dr. Sebastian Gorka will join other social and religious conservatives for a brainstorming session this afternoon on how to protect free speech online and expand the marketplace of ideas.
That's correspondent Keith Peters. On Wall Street, stocks are mixed. The Dow ahead 154 points. The Nasdaq is down 17. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Dr. Ken Brown here, host of Gut Check Project with my co-host Eric Rieger. I've seen in my practice that Atrantil is a whole lot more than just a bloating product.
Yes, it does a whole lot more than just fix bloating because of the polyphenols that you find in Atrantil.
What are some of the things that these polyphenols do, Eric?
These polyphenols can help you have more energy, and polyphenols are great for athletes.
It sounds like it's going to help a whole lot more people than just bloating. Go to lovemytummy.com/Spoony. Dr. Ken Brown here, host of Gut Check Project with my co-host Eric Rieger. Eric, we've been seeing Mojo guys over there and over here at Spoony talk about Atrantil for bloating. I've seen in my practice that Atrantil is a whole lot more than just a bloating product.
Yes, it does a whole lot more than just fix bloating because of the polyphenols that you find in Atrantil.
You're exactly right. The polyphenols are those molecules that we find in the Mediterranean diet. It makes vegetables and fruits very colorful. What are some of the things that these polyphenols do, Eric?
These polyphenols can actually stop inflammation. They can help you have more energy. They can help you with anti-aging. And polyphenols are great for athletes.
It sounds like it's going to help a whole lot more people than just bloating. Tell me how everybody should be taking Atrantil.
If you want to dose Atrantil, it's 2 capsules 3 times a day, basically with your meals. But if you aren't bloated and you just want that polyphenol intake every day, 2 to 3 capsules a day will work for you.
Go to lovemytummy.com/Spoony.
Are you tired of high cable TV rates? Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now.
800-570-6630. 800-570-6630. That's 800-570-6630. Offers require credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and e-auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
And, well, yes, welcome back. It helps if I actually pull the microphone over where I can talk into it before I say hello, but let's get Jeff back on the phone. Jeff? There you go. You still there, buddy? Hey, sorry to keep you on hold so long, but that long break gets us every time. So, hey, I was looking through some pictures. I was looking for the one of that orange carp, or whatever the heck it is, that goldfish. And there's a couple funny things I came across. So the winner from the squirrel cook-off, when we both worked up in Bentonville together, that empanada they made and the potato salad, I think, or it was rice or whatever they had with it.
Yeah, which I still think you owe me a sushi dinner from that.
I do, yes. You whooped my ass. You beat me. You placed a few higher than I did. I placed 17th out of 30-something because how can you have a judge that doesn't eat the food and gives you a 0?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, welcome to this day and age, sir. A squirrel cook-off wasn't vegan.
No, the guy didn't eat sushi, but he didn't realize that.
I don't know how to fix that problem.
No, it was an older gentleman, and they I don't know the guy, right? But I was told that they don't eat sushi because they thought it was raw fish. I'm like, man, just read the description. It was cooked squirrel, right, inside of a sushi hand roll, which was just rice and whatever. Anyway, yes, I owe you and your lovely wife a sushi dinner. It's it's not just a sushi dinner.
Hey, all of America, you just heard that, right?
It's a lesson. And you know what? Oh, check this out, though. I sent you that picture of when I was in L.A. And remember that picture I sent you of all the knives I got from the Kangsheng Knife Company?
Yes.
So how cool was that they sent me 9 knives? That's my first official sponsor here on Spoony Radio, for me anyway. And I have this beautiful 12-inch blade sashimi knife right here. If y'all are looking, woo, I'm going to blind you there with the reflection off this. I'm going to blind you. Yeah, look at that, baby. This is one of the most beautiful stainless sashimi knives I've ever seen. And I can't wait to use it. I have not used this to cut anything yet, except my finger. No, I'm lying. I haven't cut my finger on it. But I will use this for, I'd say the first time for your meal. But who knows how many more years that may be till you get that meal. So I'll say I will use this at your meal.
Oh, right? Do you use that for the tuna?
This one. So yeah, this one's never been used, but this is a long slicer, the Japanese style knife. This one's beveled on both sides. Most Japanese knives are beveled on one side. But yeah, this will be fun. So Kangsheng.
And I think we should talk about, hey, if people want, if you want to talk about knives,
dude,
if you're going to have a single-sided beveled knife, it needs to be based off what handed you are.
No, well, that's true. And not only that, so there's a specific reason that they're beveled on one side, right? You can get a finer, sharper, edge on the blade, but it also should be made of soft steel because when you have a knife that's beveled on one side, sharpening is really tricky. And the reason that you want it to be based on which-handed you are is because the way that you hold the knife to sharpen it on that big whetstone, and also the direction that you're going to slice.
You want an 80-10, you know what I mean? An 80-20, a 90-10, like I know this stuff. That's what these people need to know, is pay attention to what you're doing, folks. Like because that makes a big difference on that knife. Does it not, Patrick?
Well, so for me, so on a like a single-sided beveled knife, right? Then you're actually going to it's actually concave on the backside. Right, so when you sharpen it, it's just flattening. So when you do with the backside of the knife, which is always second, first you fold. Oh wait, actually, here real quick. So Maddie McClure, she just sent me a note. She's from she's actually the social media manager and also the marketing manager, I believe, for the Kangsheng Cutler Company. She said the J Series is a beautiful knife. Here's the link to the J Series for purchase. Yes, that's the one I have right there. It is awesome. So it's concave on the back.
Thanks for the knife. If you got some spare ones, I'll take some. Just saying.
Well,
throw that out there.
Yeah, we'll work on that, Jeff, because we need to get the word out there and get these in the hands of more chefs.
I fillet a lot of fish.
Yes, you do. Yeah. As a matter of fact, yeah, we'll have that talk. We'll get on a conference call. All right, and not to mention with your Pond to Plate video podcast, that's somewhere you could really display those and show people their worth. Okay, real quick. So the knives, when you're yes, it depends on which handed you are, right-handed, left-handed. The flat side, the unbeveled side, should be whatever handed you are. So if I'm holding my knife in my right hand, and I'm right-handed, the back side of the knife that's on the back side of my hand, right, the one I'm cutting, the one that's away from the direction I'm cutting, that's the flat side. And so the beveled side is always going to face my body when I slice. It's going to face my other hand. So, but when you sharpen it, I'm telling you, man, that's the hardest thing for me to ever. That was the hardest thing I've learned in the kitchen, as far as maintaining equipment, and was sharpening a Japanese soft, high carbon steel knife. Oh my God! The first one ended up looking like when you get even a sashimi knife, a long, very slow curved knife, Jeff, they kind of arc towards the tip, right? It's flat on the backside, curves up towards the tip. Did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay, so what ended up happening, though, because I was so bad at sharpening the knife, and it was a hand-me-down. I bought it for like $40 from one of the older sushi chefs at Sushi Den in Denver. It was one of the first knives I actually had to take care of all the time on my own, and it ended up looking like a finger. So instead of having that slow curve towards the tip, it went the other direction.
Yep.
I started whittling away at the front of the blade, right, from putting too much pressure, and it ended up looking like a finger curled to the left instead of sweeping up to the right. And oh my God, they laughed at me for so long. I ended up giving it to one of the other new guys after.
Well, that's when you learn how to spread your fingers on the blade when you run it on a stone.
Yes, and also
so the pressure is even. The pressure is even that way, Patrick, I don't think it's just Japanese steel or anything like that. I think it's all knives in general.
Absolutely.
So many people just don't know how to properly sharpen their knife.
Well, and then also when
they think that a steel, I don't care if it's a diamond steel or a ceramic steel or a steel. I don't care. That does not sharpen your knife.
No, it doesn't. Oh, Maddie McClure says, send your link, Jeff. We'll see what we can do. We have a range of fillet knives. We'll just get on a call, and then I'll drop off, and you guys can talk about it. I'll make the introduction, if that sounds good to you. Or I'll just send them your email address, and they can reach out to you directly. All right?
Who said that?
That's Maddie from the Kangsheng Knife Company, Cutler Company.
Oh, awesome.
Yep. Yeah, so one of the things that happens.
Well, thank you, Maddie.
So one of the things that happens is the Japanese beveled knives have a very straight bevel. They're not rounded, and so it's basically you have this flat knife. It's flat on one side. It's flat directly on the opposite side, and then it has a flat bevel which goes to the edge. Right. The thing is, if you don't have your fingers spread far enough apart, and you're not used to working with a knife that you have to sharpen 2 to 3 sections at a time, you'll rock the knife back and forth, which makes that beveled side rounded, and you don't hold the edge. And then you know, or over sharpening the backside, which is really just flattening the knife, really just taking the burr off. If you try to do too much on the backside, it creates metal shavings that curl towards the front.
On that side.
Exactly. And well, it curls the steel towards the front, and you take a lot more steel off of there. And so it's just, it's a pain, right? Or it gets too thin, like the actual blade, the edge gets too thin and it starts to chip. And so,
but let's talk about the physics behind that knife, Patrick.
Sure.
The reason that it's basically straight on one side and beveled on the other, and you said it best. It's beveled based on the hand that I'm going to pull it with across, and what that does is that little bit of bevel pulls that fish off the bone or off the whatever I'm doing. It gives it that little bit of lift that I need come on through the meat.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so, so it's, so this is something I've wanted to talk about for a long time. The shape of the knife and the design of the blade are very specific to utilization, right? Except in one case in particular, which is a chef's knife, which has a very, broad range of motions you can use to use the blade, especially if it's like a 10-inch chef's knife, because you can draw it like a slicing knife, right? Long blades, which are not tall, are typically made to be drawn one direction through a product, through whatever you're cutting, like sashimi knives, non-serrated slicers, right? You can saw them back and forth, but typically it's made to make one long draw and it's in a single direction. And then you have things like a chef's knife. They have a very arced blade, which is good for rocking back and forth. But typically, because of the length, you can also use it as a slicer, an all-around utility, as a cleaver, whatever you want to use it for.
Yeah, to get through stuff. And I'm with you. Like, sawing something, a knife should never saw.
Unless it's serrated.
A knife should go straight through.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's even when you get into, like, chef knives, and you start talking about weight of them, okay? Example, a global, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Take a global knife. It's very light. It is not made to tear through root vegetables. You need something with a little more handle pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I don't know. I guess people don't understand that. Knives are designed to do certain things.
Well, you got into something really. You got into something you just mentioned there. So look, you just mentioned a knife company, right? Which I really love their design. They're beautiful knives, but they have a very small hand. Like the handle is not very large diameter. Right, and so the grip,
you'll wear your hand out cutting carrots on that thing.
Yeah, and so the grip is small, and that's another thing. This is something cool about the Kangsheng Knife Company, is they have a bunch of different lines, all with different handles, all with different diameter handles. Some are really flashy and showy. They actually have a knife that's very similar to the brand you just mentioned, which is it's solid steel all the way through. Like the handle is part of the blade. It's all.
I'm sorry for mentioning the brand there, but
it's okay. Global. Well, Global makes great knives. I used to use a Global slicer as a sashimi knife because it held the edge really well, and I didn't need a large diameter handle. Right, I used a 12-inch slicer. I didn't need a big handle to draw through fish, and most Japanese knives have a small handle anyway, small diameter. But as I got into, I worked away from the sushi bar and more into the kitchen, I, like you, needed a larger diameter handle that had a better grip on it. Now I'm somewhere in between. So the knives I've chosen from Kangsheng are kind of they're smaller than a traditional, say, the big European names, Henkel or any of the other big names over there, Sabatier. They're not quite like those handles. They're a little sleeker in design, and I love the design so much I was willing to give up some of the girth on the handle. And yes, I said girth, folks. Make all the jokes you want. I'm talking about chef knives. And it just depends on your personal preference. Yeah, whether you need something bigger, smaller.
It does. See, I'm I'm more of a girth guy myself on an everyday knife.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. On an everyday knife, I want something a little heavier because I have the control where I can start at the back of my knife and just slide it down, and I can sashimi something.
So with these,
but
go ahead.
Sometimes you just need a sashimi knife. You know what I mean? You need a knife that's made to do that.
Well, yeah.
And
go ahead.
It's
I'm
like
sorry.
you were saying. You know, you don't want a saw. You want to, and a lot of people forget that. Start at the back of the knife and pull, and allow the blade to do the work.
Yeah, so start at the hilt, and on a chef's knife, a lot of them will have this kind of thick ridge back there. Most of the European-style knives will. And then you draw back towards you. If you get to the tip of the blade before you've gotten through the product, then do the same motion, but
your knife's not big enough.
Well, or you just rock it forward. So see you're cutting, if you're cutting like a really large end of tenderloin, right? The fat end of the tenderloin. Beef tenderloin, and you draw back. You haven't gone through, then just push it forward, but it's still the same slicing motion forward until the blade hits flat on the board or whatever you're cutting on. But don't saw back and forth. If you have a non-serrated knife, it's not meant for that. It's not good for the knife. It's not good for the product, and you get a very inconsistent cut that way. You tend to get those jagged edges.
But see, I recommend everybody have an 8-inch chef knife and a 14-inch chef knife.
So I have okay, I have to say, I love these knives.
Well, I have an 8, a 12, and a 14.
So
go
ahead.
I recommend an 8 and a 14.
So I have a 6, an 8, and a 12.
So when you get that butternut squash, you got a knife big enough to handle it, and
so with me, so here's what I do.
I believe you should be able to make a clean swap. Almost every slice.
So here's what I do with the butternut squash, because I've had vegetables turn on me and cut my fingers before. I take the tip of the knife and I push it halfway, the length of the, so if you're looking end to end on the butternut squash, I push the tip down through the center of it, okay, and then cut lengthwise for the first half, spin it around, put it back down the same hole and cut the other end. Because, again, I've had them, that way I have a place for my hand to hold the top of the squash while I cut the bottom, and then flip it around and hold the cut end while I cut the other half of the squash. So,
see, I go the other way.
Do you?
I nip off the bottom,
and
I nip off the top.
And you stand it up?
And then I stand it up and just take my 14-inch and just go, and come straight down it.
I think I don't do that because I've taught people to do that before, and inevitably one person puts their fingers under the blade when they push down, and that's the guy who becomes the eternal lesson for the rest of the class. So, I tend to I do it that way. I tend to get a more even cut that way too. The knife doesn't twist on you, but something that hard isn't a big deal. It's more cracking than slicing anyway as you go through it. But I mean, knives are. If we don't have
knives,
good knives,
are the wrenches of mechanics in the culinary world.
No, yeah, they're.
Sometimes you need a 10 millimeter. Sometimes you need a 1/2 inch.
So I have a 6-inch.
I
have a 6-inch knife.
A
6-inch chef's knife. You ever had one of those, Jeff? A 6-inch chef's knife?
We're not going to talk about your 6 inches.
No, tell me.
Prefer not to talk about that.
Here's the reason. Okay, so Pat Gamere, actually, she's talking about, she has an 8-inch Sabatier French knife, and Sabatier is a very unique style of European cutlery. They have a blade. Their chef's knife has a blade that's not as tall as most chef's knives, and so a lot of times, if you have kind of fat fingers like I do, my knuckles hit the table on the cutting board when I'm cutting because the blade isn't tall enough. But that 6-inch chef's knife, I've used that for everything. You saw when we were working at Blue Fish Marketplace and I had to go through all those lobsters every day. I use that thing to, because it's just a workhorse. The steel was thick enough, I could use it as a cleaver. It was strong enough and inflexible enough to use it to cut through anything. And then it's just so easy to wield.
You've got to think about physics on it, Patrick. If it's got a lesser profile, there's less friction.
No, and
friction can be your enemy on cutting things.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've had Sabatier knives as well. I had a full set that I bought at the end of my my tenure at the Art Institute up in Denver, and they were stolen from my car along with some other things. I had just bought them, and I never, and they were stolen from the actual school parking lot. So I never recovered any of them, and I decided, well, I'll just, maybe they weren't for me. So, but the French are eclectic. They're a lot of times more about design than functionality, where the Germans are very scientific about everything. Having lived there for a long time, they're definitely about functionality and design. But anyway, there's a million things we can talk about on knives. I like. You have another.
Hey, so let's talk about the delivery business, because you and I were talking about it on the phone before we got on the radio here.
Let's talk some business of business here.
Let's talk about that.
Okay, so I'll start the story off by saying last week, Monday, I'm sorry, this Monday, I talked about, or maybe it was last Friday or Thursday. Anyway, I talked about how Uber Eats lost money last year. They did, overall sales were somewhere in the $8 billion range, and they lost like $1.8 billion. Uber Eats did. Now, that's just a terrible business model to be able to do in that kind of volume. And you don't own the vehicles. You don't employ the drivers. They're all contracting drivers, right? Contract drivers. It's a flat fee that you pay them. And, why would they lose money on that? But what was the article you read?
Well, there's an article that came out of here in Northwest Arkansas about how a lot of the restaurants are turning their shoulder on these third-party delivery services. Mm-hmm. And there was, I'll be honest, it was a great write-up. It really explained what really was going on. And I think a lot of consumers don't know that not only are they charging the business, mm-hmm. but they're also charging the customer.
They charge both. Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that they can't be profitable doing it kind of blows my mind.
Not only that.
And if you look at the setup structures on them, okay, you can be at 18% or something, 22%, and spend nothing up front. Or you can spend $2,000-$3,000 up front and get a lower rate. But then what so many people are not thinking about is how long is it going to take me to make up that $2,000 or $3,000? And then how often do I have to do that $2,000 or $3,000 to pay for my promotion on this? Because basically what they're doing is free advertising. That's how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I make no money off doing business with them. I make zero money.
So let's
my customer gets charged more, mm-hmm. which then turns them off on me. Because, hey, I want his burger, but I don't want to pay $16 for it.
Okay, so let's go back and discuss real quick what you were talking about. So as a restaurant owner, I can pay 18% approximately on average of the total cost of a meal for it to be delivered to you. Or I can pay a couple $1,000s up front and then a monthly flat fee to have food delivered from
Well, I mean, I guess some are monthly flat fees.
Or a lower percentage.
Some of them just drop the percentage.
Yeah,
okay?
Exactly.
But what customers are not understanding is that for simple math, let's take a $10 hamburger.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't pay up front,
mm-hmm.
they're going to take 22% of my hamburger cost.
So they're going to take $2.20.
So I'm not getting $10.
You're getting $7.80.
I'm now getting $7.80.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're charging a delivery fee on top of that.
To the
all
consumer.
my customer understands is that a $10 burger just went to a a $12 or $13 burger, but yet the restaurant got none of that money.
Exactly. But they don't know that.
They don't. And it's because these third-party deliveries don't tell people the facts.
Well, and it's not just about that. Look, it's as a business, right? We have about a minute left. We'll talk for a few seconds. We'll come back. Can you come back on the other side, a 2-minute break? Because there's a lot to talk about on business. You and I have very similar minds when it comes to operating a restaurant, controlling costs. The only true controllable as far as any cost is labor, so on and so forth. But let's talk about that, because I don't think people understand from both sides, the operational perspective and the guest perspective, where these hidden fees, hidden costs, why the perception that things are so expensive, why that's there when it comes to, tax rates and liability insurance and all the other stuff that's incorporated, minimum wages. I was in California, in LA. Some areas over there, the minimum wage is $14.50, $15, and you wonder why your hamburger is $17. Well, we'll tell you about that in just a minute. We got 10 seconds, Chef. We're going to go to break. Again, this is Chef Jeff Wetzel, the Cowboy Chef of Le Bouvier Chef Services up out of the Bentonville area of Northwest Arkansas. He's going to come back and join us. I'm going to put you on mute for a second. Stay tuned, folks. The fourth and final course, dessert on a stick, is coming right up. Stay tuned.
Follow Chef Patrick Mosher on Twitter @Food Biz Pro.
Do you use the expensive blue or yellow pills to charge your sex life? Are you thinking about it? What if we can promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? If you're paying $20 a pill for the other pills, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pills deliver the exact same results for less than $3. You'll save more than $16 a pill for the same results. And right now, radio callers will get 44 blue or yellow pills for $120 with free discreet shipping. You can save more than $700 off pharmacy prices. Charge your sex life now and save a ton of money. Call now and get your 44 pills and save over $700 and qualify for free shipping. Stop overpaying and call right now.
800-218-6473. 800-218-6473. 800-218-6473. That's 800-218-6473.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-452-1075. 800-452-1075. That's 800-452-1075.
And we're back. Chef Patrick Mosher, the Food Biz Pro, back for the fourth course, the end of the meal, the dessert, the heart of the matter, I don't know, whatever we're going to call it. Jeff, you there?
I am.
All right, look at that. I didn't lose you this time. Chef Jeff Wetzel, the Cowboy Chef, calling in from Bella Vista, Arkansas, in his beautiful view of the that lake there. We're going to have to shoot that goldfish from your back porch, I think.
Oh, I plan to catch it.
I know. I'm just joking. All right, so we're just talking a little business of business when it comes to food service. We're talking about delivery services, all these hidden fees, tips, tricks. Obviously, the model for delivery isn't working because neither the restaurants make money from that. They really don't. And I don't know a lot of restaurants, except maybe in inner cities, right? Bigger metropolitan areas where they're getting a lot of form, function, and service from using those delivery systems because it typically, again, it's advertising, it's promotion. You may get a little bit of a broader reach, but in a small community, like where you are. We did that at Fred's, and I'll tell you, it didn't help us. Not at all. Matter of fact, it kind of hurt because we often had food leave the kitchen before either the expediter, the kitchen manager, or the chef inspected the delivery, packaging. And I would say,
well, hey, above that, I was consulting in a restaurant up here in Northwest Arkansas, and I watched them cook a third-party delivery order before they cooked the food for the people that were sitting in their building.
yes, I've seen that happen many times, and I've always wondered why.
Just because it was a larger order, and yes, okay, so this is a $200 order compared to these people's, $15 tacos or whatever. But why would you prioritize them over the people that are in your building?
Well, and that's the thing. You're not just possibly upsetting one guest, right? You're upsetting all the guests that were jumped ahead of in line. And one of the things that I was always adamant about is a to-go ticket goes right in line with the rest of the orders. It's not pushed to the front. It's not, So here's a pet peeve of mine in restaurants. This is a bad point of service in my mind. You have a VIP come in. Okay, somebody who's been a customer for a long time, and all of a sudden you have 30 orders on the board, 30 tickets waiting, people sweating their asses off trying to get that food to the table, and the manager comes in and says, "Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones are on table 7. I need this on the fly." They're VIPs. They're going to the theater. Well, you know what? I don't give a crap about your theater ticket. Make a reservation like everybody else. Get there in time to have your meal. Because
or come earlier.
Well, look, it's not about Mr. and Mrs. Jones. It's the fact that we condition people to expect service above and beyond what everyone else should receive. Right? Everybody should get the same level of service. It really doesn't matter. If you come in and get a glass of water and order a loaf of bread, you get the same service as a guy that ordered a bottle of wine and a $50 steak. Right? As long as you
think a Michelin star restaurant gives a shit what time you got there or who you are?
No, they don't.
You're going to get fed at the time that it goes.
Yep. Exactly.
And it's that simple.
It is. So that's one thing. You just putting orders in front of any other order, right? Now, if it's not busy and you can simultaneously fire a new order while keeping up with the other orders because there is a special circumstance, I get it. We all try to accommodate.
Yeah.
Hey, we're in a rush. Could we possibly get this because we've got to leave in 20 minutes? Sure, if we can do it, we will. Absolutely. It's not that the guest is always right, but you always try to serve the guest, right? And but yeah,
absolutely.
But I think order of service, everybody gets served in the order they come in, and then everybody gets the same level of treatment. There's no reason anyone should get anything different than anyone else, unless they're an investor or the owner of the restaurant.
I agree, and you know what? One of the biggest things that I at the Yellow House, which you have sat in the Yellow House, the clientele that was around the Yellow House. Okay, there was $1 million ranch homes right there, but then there were also trailers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I taught all my staff, I don't care if they're from the trailer or from the $1 million home. You treat everybody the same because you know what? That family that's living in that trailer, they might have saved all month for this birthday dinner. You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And they chose to spend their money with us.
Exactly.
So you treat them just the same.
Well,
as anybody else that walked in here.
Absolutely. And so I'll give a classic example. So you remember when I worked with Helen and Jim Durham? Remember they had that farm in just west of Tomball there in Rose Hill? They had that organic farm. We had a food service delivery company. It was when I was consulting there, building that when you had opened Yellow House. So I was working with this family, Jim and Helen Durham. Jim was a very famous announcer, And this is kind of to add to that point. Perception is not always reality, folks. It really isn't. And so taking those goggles that we see everyday life through because of our experiences and how they're different from everybody else's, we see things in a specific way because we perceive things to be something based on our experiences. So Jim Durham was a very successful. He was the voice of the Bulls for, I don't know, 15 years. He was the voice of the Chicago White Sox for a while. He also worked with what was his partner on the air? I'll think of it in a minute. The Captain Jack was his name, I think. He was an announcer for like 30, 40 years. They worked together forever. And Jim was very successful. I mean, he'd go fly to cover the basketball playoffs. Almost always did basketball and then baseball when they need him on occasion after he left Chicago. But he was about 70 years old. He'd fly around, first class. They'd pick him up in a limo, take him to his show and bring him back. And Jim had great stories. Well, Jim always, before he left, during the week, he was a farmer. They owned 30 acres right there in Rose Hill, Texas. And he was out there riding his tractor 10 hours a day with a cigar in his mouth. And every morning he went into there's a corner store. It's not a Valero. I think it's an Exxon station at, where is that? It's not Jones Road. It's where Telge Road runs into 2920 right there. I know if you don't live there, you guys don't know this, but
yep.
So there's that gas station on the corner. He would go in there every morning, and he would get a cup of coffee. He would be wearing his overalls, a dirty, torn T-shirt, and flip-flops. And he'd have a John Deere cap on sideways, and his hands were always greasy from working on the tractor because that was the first thing he did in the morning. He at 5:30 went out, worked on the tractor, lit a cigar, and then drove into town. And he would drive his truck to go into town. It's kind of a beat-up old truck. Okay, but he also had 2 Mercedes. Every day he went in, he'd get his cup of coffee black, just a small, and then he would go to pay for it, and the lady said, "No, it's on me." And so he thought she's really nice and generous. He's like, "Okay, thank you." He'd sit and chat with her for a minute and leave. So about 2 years of this went by. One day he drives up in his Mercedes and his 3-piece suit, getting ready to go to the airport, and he goes in to get a cup of coffee, and she goes, "Wow, did you fall into some money?" He goes, "No, this is what I wear when I'm traveling every week. I just haven't traveled in the morning in a long time." And she's like, "I always thought you were homeless." So she thought he lived in his truck and that he drove in every morning to go get his cup of coffee. You don't know who people are, folks, and it doesn't matter if you do. Everybody across the board deserves the same level of service and respect. Okay? Now, again, go ahead.
For a very short period of time, Patrick, I took a hiatus from the culinary business, and I went to the car business.
Mm-hmm.
And I sold cars. Specifically, I sold trucks. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I had a guy come in that nobody wanted to talk to because he looked like a raggedy old man. And I went and talked to him, and he said, "Hey, I want to go look at your dualies." And I said, "All right, sir, let's go look at them." And we went out there, and we looked at a few, and we test drove 1 or 2, and we came back in. He said, "Okay, I like this one. I'll take 5, and I'll write a check right now. My sons are starting a hot shot business, and I've already bought the trailers. They need some dualies to pull them.
I need a small fleet." Mm-hmm.
And he bought 5 dually trucks that day and wrote a check for them. Cash money. I'll just buy them. There is no financing.
No haggling.
And so it goes to, just like you're saying, you can never judge a book by its cover.
No, you can't. And look, the restaurant industry is full of pitfalls. I want to we were talking about a recipe earlier today. You're doing this party on Saturday, right? Let's talk a little more about the business side of stuff, because I could give you 1,000 stories about perception and how that's bitten me in the butt over and over and over. I'll tell you a story about up in Aspen in a little while. But so you're doing a party on Saturday, and you're doing a grits with crappie, right?
Well, yeah, I'm doing a fried bacon and cheddar grit with a blackened crappie and a tomato confit.
Okay, let's talk through this real quick.
And the first course, just to brighten the palate, is going to be a watermelon soup.
That's one of
I do, which is I cook the watermelon with white wine and all the fun stuff, shallots, a little bit of garlic, whatnot.
You serve it cold or hot?
I puree that, and then I strain it really, really fine so that it's almost like basically consomme, if you will.
Mm-hmm. So,
and then I garnish that with some macerated watermelon, some feta cheese, and a little bit of mint.
Mm-hmm.
But right before it goes to the customer, I pour in just a splash of sparkling white wine so it goes out effervescent, if you will.
Man, be good with that is like a drizzle of like sherry vinegar. Man, now you're making me hungry, dude. Making me really hungry. So I do something like I do a melon gazpacho, right? And mine is not cooked. I cook everything but the melon, and then so after I cook all the other stuff, puree together, I put the melon in puree and then strain it, and I kind of do the same thing. But so let's talk about that second course, though. Okay, so you have the fried cheese grits, right? You have the blackened crappie and your tomato confit. So let's talk through this meal. Confit. What's confit, buddy? Is it really confit, or are you just calling it confit?
Well, confit is slow cooking in fat.
Mm-hmm.
That's what confit is.
Yes.
Okay. Now, by the technical term, it's cooking it in its own fat.
Mm-hmm.
So, if it's duck confit, it needs to be cooked in duck fat. If it's beef confit, it needs to be cooked in beef fat.
Okay, so you're making tomato confit. Tomatoes have no fat. So how are you making this one?
Well, and that's where I take a little liberty on it. And so sometimes I call it confit. Sometimes I call it fondue.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do is I take some shallots and some garlic, and I saute those up. I drop in some halved heirloom tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, and I let those saute for a minute. I hit them with a little white wine. I let that reduce a little bit, and then I cream it out with butter.
Oh.
So it comes off the heat, and it just gets one pad at a time.
Mm-hmm.
One pad at a time.
Yep, to incorporate enough to make it thickened up to like a salt. Mm-hmm.
Get it nice and creamy, and then I pour that around this dish so that when you take a bite, you have to scoop through it to get it. But these fried grits, let's talk about those.
So that's really where I was going. So the fried grits.
To be honest, those are the star of the show.
For a couple of reasons.
When I was running the food truck, I ran shrimp and grits one day. And I had a whole bunch of grits left. And to be honest, I was tired, and I just wrapped them up and put them in the cooler. Well, I came back the next day to these congealed grits, and I was like, well, how can I sell that? And so I cut a slice off, and I dropped it in the fryer. And these things are French fries on crack. I mean, they're so crispy on the outside, but they are just butter smooth in the middle. A potato cannot produce this.
No. Nope. You're right, and it's a different texture from polenta, because the hominy that you use to make grits is it's a creamier texture. It's a much different texture. You're right, but I can imagine, because I've made fried polenta cakes.
Let's be honest, grits and polenta are not very far off.
No, one's hominy and
they're
one's
relative.
Yeah, they're close.
Okay. They are definitely relative.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the grit has a whole lot of jaggedy spikes on it compared to a cornmeal, which jaggedy spikes make crispy edges.
I see. So then, you did this and you made that dish, but the functionality of this was that you couldn't afford to waste all those grits. You couldn't. I mean,
yes,
because as you termed it.
So
really,
the dish actually started. Seriously, the dish originated by me frying those grits, and I happened to be cooking chili that day, and was going to be doing a like a Frito pie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which everyone who knows me knows my chili is seriously number one. But I use those grit fries, if you will, and then put some chili and some cheese and some onion on them, and they went berserk over this thing. I mean, they sold out in a minute.
It's awesome.
And so it's about where you're wanting to go with this, Patrick. It's about learning how to use what you think is waste to make money.
Yeah. So
you paid for it. You need to sell it.
Waste in any respect, in any aspect, is the killer of any restaurant. Right? Margins are tiny in restaurants comparatively. It's you talk about the cost of labor and goods, and then your fixed overhead. Your prime costs every month are higher than almost any other industry, and then the margin that you can sell those for. The additional markup that you can put on it has to be reasonable and not greater than expected by the consumer, which means that it's tough to hit that sweet spot and make any money. And as you said, waste is the killer in the kitchen. It's the killer anywhere in a restaurant. It doesn't matter if it's wasted labor, wasted money by overpaying for rent or not negotiating your lease better, or just not knowing. Money that you spend on ingredients that don't get utilized in the kitchen, though, is probably the number one wasteful and impactful opportunity to your bottom line that people don't take advantage of, don't leverage, and don't think about. A lot of chefs are wasteful, man. It breaks my heart. They're learning. There's a big push now towards total utilization, head to tail, serving every animal head to tail, learning to cook the roots and stalks of vegetables instead of just the fruit of the vine, right? But that one pan of, so let's talk about the economics of this. How much did that pan of grits cost you? It was probably a 4-inch hotel pan, right? That you had left?
Well, it was a 6 pan.
Okay. And so how much?
So, I mean, we're talking, probably in all honesty, in grits, probably, $5.
Okay, but how much revenue did you generate from what should have been, in most people's minds, in that kitchen on that day?
150.
Okay, so but most people would have just tossed it out, right, or served it to the staff, or thought it's not I can't utilize this. So you took $5.
Yep.
In what was food cost, which would have been true waste with no revenue produced from that, and you produced $150 in revenue. So you basically went, 30-fold, 30 times your investment, which is rare in a restaurant, except like mashed potatoes. That's where you make your markup, right? Sides.
Yep.
And not only did you save money, you generated a ton of revenue. So that's something where, man. I've talked about examples where when people think about dropping a plate in a restaurant.
Getting out of the box.
Well, I mean,
creating dishes.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem this day and age, in my opinion.
What's that?
Is nobody thinks about creating a dish. Well, and when they do think about creating a dish, they think about creating this massive thing that you got to bring all this product in to do. Why not reinvent something you already have?
No, exactly. Or take ingredients components you utilize in another dish and create something completely unique from that. So, one of the things controlling cost is a big deal. So when you drop a plate of food in the kitchen, I've talked about this before. Typically, we keep a loss log in the kitchen, right? So anything that gets wasted, burned, you end up dumping in the garbage because it's spoiled. Spoilage, shrinkage, anything like that, dropped product.
I always keep a loss log.
Yeah.
If you throw anything away from the walk-in, It needs to be written on the law.
And it's either weighed or measured, right? By volume.
I don't care if it's a head of lettuce or whatever. Like it's got to be documented.
Yeah, and so what happens though? So the economics of a single plate of food. Let's talk about that. Say that you have a $10 burger, right, with a sides. It's got hamburgers, French fries, and a Coke for $10. They drop the tray, so the tray's fine, but the plate breaks and you lose the burger. So now you got to cook another one. All right, so economics say that say that plate of food.
Well, my burgers run me $2.32 a piece.
Yeah, so say the whole thing is we'll keep it easy, $3, right? It cost you $3. So you just lost $3 because you lost the French fries and the burger and the whole plate of food and your sweet tea, whatever the drink was. So you lost that $3. Now the plate broke, which is.
Oh, I was telling you that $2.32 was just my patty.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're going to keep the economics easy because I can't think that fancy. My brain is on simple mode. It's Thursday, so but say the whole thing cost you $3, right? Now you didn't just lose $3, which is what most chefs. Oh shoot, I just lost $3. No, you lost $3, but you also lost the $10 that you would have gained in revenue from that, right? Now you also lost.
Well, but you also lost that. You also lost the 8 minutes in labor to cook that burger.
Yes, you also lost the additional fuel necessary for that, the extra electricity. Now, now you also lost. You didn't lose, but you have to pay for again the base ingredients. So you add another $3 to the cost of that. So now this burger costs you $6. Now it didn't, but you lost already $10 in revenue. Now it didn't just cost you $6 though. So it cost you the plate. The plate is between $12 and $20, like a big heavy plate. Restaurant, restaurant grade is about $20 a plate.
Lost revenue.
Yes. So now you lost a plate, which is $20. You lost. It cost you $6 to get the burger out there, and you lost an additional $10 in revenue. So it's basically $36 to make a burger, and you're gonna make after labor and everything, you're gonna make $2 on the burger. So you lost $30. It cost you gained $2. Maybe you get $4 per burger. Okay, but you still now how many extra burgers do you have to sell to get the revenue you would have had from selling one burger, not breaking the plate, and just getting it to the table? Yeah. So I mean, it's crazy when you think about how many you have to. If you make $2 a burger, that's 15 more burgers just to break even on one burger that was lost in a broken plate. And the extra labor and all the other stuff.
Patrick, if we can do one thing on your show, and that's educate some people to the restaurant business, that our margins are not as big as you think they are.
Dude, gross
margin. So when you send that steak back, that you ordered it that way, and we send it to you that way, and you want us to cook you another one, so like our example right now is a burger. But what if that's a 14-ounce ribeye?
Yeah, well, what if it's
cost just multiply?
What if it's a tomahawk chop? Seriously, with a 3-foot bone on there that you sell for $100 but costs you $60. Really, I mean, it's really the economics of restaurants are very simple. The average gross margin, pre-tax profit. For a
14%.
Restaurant, dude, no. Pre-tax profit is 7%. The average net profit for restaurants is 4.5%. So if you sell $1 million in burgers, you net on average, just all dining services across the country, $40,000, dude. That's a lot of work to put $40,000 in. Now, granted, there's a lot of write-offs you have in restaurants. There's other things you can do that are possibly if you're aware of them, right? And you can run a lean, efficient business. Sushi bars, man. Good sushi bars run 18% food cost, and they may make 30% of the gross, or net. I mean, 30% on net. So it's a fine line. Even if you're making 14%, so what? You make $80,000 for selling $1 million in burgers at $10 a pop. That's a lot of damn burgers.
Yep.
I mean, that's 10,000 burgers, 8,000 burgers a month.
People don't understand that.
No, and look, so
people just want to sit in there and bitch in a restaurant.
Wait. Here's the thing: we love our customers, right? But one thing we need to do, and I talked about this before, is not just customer service training. So not just training the staff at restaurants, not just training people in the industry how to be more aware and more efficient, but it's also teaching the general consumer how to be a good guest, right? And how to understand that. Yeah, and understand that this is just like any business. If you went in and you had a tire replaced, you drove 2 miles down the road and it popped, you would not go back and say, I want another free tire and I want a free dessert. No. You wouldn't demand that of anywhere else. But in a restaurant, you get one bad plate at a party for 8 and you want the whole meal for free, right? Or you eat 80% of the meal and you send it back saying, these last few bites are too dry. I want my money back, or I don't want to pay. No, that shouldn't be the case, in my opinion.
Well, in this day and age, I've watched more times than I can count. I've watched people take so much time photoing their food instead of eating it, and then tell me it's cold.
Yeah.
And they want me to replace it.
Well, I've had that happen a lot too. But anyway, look, we couldn't have restaurants without the diners. But just be respectful. Remember, your servers are human. They have feelings too. The kitchen, they're busy. They have the same problems in life that you do. And maybe on
everybody does. And hey, on that note, just for all of America to hear, when a restaurant says they're closed at 10, don't show up at 9:55.
Well, but if you do,
don't do that.
If you do, say, hey, I know it's late. Can you tell me? We're starving though. You're the only place around. Could you tell me what I can get? Because I know you're probably closing down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So hey, that place I'm working on east of Austin, they're going to close at 8. Right? It's Ham Bones Breakfast and Burgers. They're going to close at 8. Their last call's at 7:30. Last order in at 7:30. Doors shut at 8. So you get 30 minutes to eat and get out. I mean, I think that's a good policy. It says it right on their menu. So, hey, brother, we got 20 seconds left. I got to say goodbye, but I'm going to call you off the air a little bit later today. Give the wife and family hugs and kisses. Love you guys. Miss you. And thanks again for your input, man. I miss you. And I appreciate you.
Well, see, one of these days I'll bring you up here and teach you how to fish.
And I'll teach you how to make sushi. All right. Take care, Jeff. Later, brother. All right, hey, thanks again for spending 2 hours with me here on the Food Biz Pro Show. Chef Patrick Mosher. Keep tuning in to Spoony Radio. Be good to yourself. You are what you eat. We'll talk to you tomorrow.